let's spotlight our panelists and I'll let them quickly introduce themselves. Ryan, I see you. Steve, I see you. Mark, I see you. Ryan, you're not muted, so I'll call on you first. Just quickly tell us like where you at, how big's your team, and then a quick on how are you using this kind of a cash offer strategy in your business.
Yeah, thanks for allowing me to take part. Love working with OJO. My name's Ryan O'Neill. I'm the broker and founder of a team called the Minnesota Real Estate Team. Obviously, in Minnesota, we're a little bit of a larger group. Work really all over the Twin Cities and Minnesota and Western Wisconsin. And really, since the start of when I got into the business back in 2003, we have had a guaranteed offer, a cash offer. So excited for today's discussion. I think it's really relevant for everybody attending.
Steve, why don't you go next?
Yeah, thanks, Jeremiah. Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Nickerson. I'm team lead of One Home Colorado, Metro Denver. We've been using the cash offer program as a lead magnet for the last several years, and it's been really advantageous to us both for getting listings and also finding investor opportunities for our team members and also our clients. We use a strategy where it's all like Chris said in the beginning, and Jeremiah said it too. It's just about really having a conversation about options with potential sellers and what they're looking to do.
All right, Mark.
Mark Hamby. Obviously, I'm with the Jeremiah Taylor team in Tucson. Excuse me. We've kind of had this in our back pocket for a few years, but I think with the market shift, we've really started to use a lot more in the last probably 18 months. Kind of like what Steve said, it's really an opportunity for the team members as well as our investors to be able to help people. My big thing is transparency, making sure that people know that I'm local and I'm very transparent that I'm a real estate agent. And the local piece is really a big piece in Tucson. Tucson's a very tight-knit community, and knowing that we're local, we're not Open Door, we're not Zillow, we're not, all these national companies that people despise so much, that really makes a big difference. And getting that connection with the people helps.
Cool. I love it. And I think you all nailed it, right? This isn't a new idea. Since I started in real estate, I remember hearing ads of, I'll sell your house in 30 days, and if I don't, I'll buy it, right? All this is a new spin in kind of a transparent way of doing that where upfront the consumer can see multiple options from these different parties. Given today's inventory constrained world, having more options is always better. And so I think that the thing, let's put ourselves in the mindset of somebody that, like, you all are very advanced at this. All three of you buy homes yourself, have a network of investors that you're working with, and like, this is pretty well thought out. If you were a newer agent or to this, like trying to get started, what's the first thing you would do? How would you get started so that you could feel confident to go do this?
I'll go first. So for me, I think it's two things. I think one, you have to really have mastery of the content and the conversation that you're going to have with the seller to be able to really speak to those options that they could have. And then the second part is to have really a backup plan with investors, whether it be a hard money lender situation or established high line of credit or a HELOC where you can do things yourself, or investor network that wants those types of opportunities. I think it's really important to have those two pieces, two sides of the same coin, because there's a lot of different ways this can go for a seller, and ultimately it's about them and what serves them and what's best for them. And so you want to be, as a consultant, present the best possible scenario. And for us, we're looking at three things. It's like, do they want the best price, they want the fastest time, or they want the biggest convenience in this situation? And a lot of these cash offers are really dialing into because they want to sell fast, and they want to, not have the challenge of putting their house on the market or fix it up. And so if that's a conversation, then it's a cash offer. It's really, easy to get into and give them an offer. But the flip side of that is maybe somebody wants best price and fast timing. So then you got to factor in what are they willing to do, and who do you have in your network to bring that solution to that person.
Yeah, I think just to piggyback on that point, I think we are, as we know, as agents and brokers, problem solvers. We are there to help, to provide solutions, to look at different alternatives So I think the really positive thing with this program, as I listen to you describe it, Jeremiah, is more than anything, this gives the agent an opportunity for a discussion. And it may lead to an immediate listing. It may lead to a listing 6 months from now. It may lead to 6 referrals from that person, from you taking time to genuinely listen to their needs, help them, offer solutions. And again, knowing a lot of really good agents with all the brokers across the country, the cash offer or the guaranteed offer model has really, again, been around as long as I've been in business. And it is a huge lead magnet. It gets people to call. And again, trying to get in front of them, trying to meet them in person is what we've found is really the key to conversion. Not saying they don't care about us or who we are or our stats or whatever. All they want to know is how are we going to help them. So again, trying to get in front of them is something that we really focus on in that initial call.
Mark, anything you would add about getting started?
Yeah, I feel like it's Ryan had a great point about getting in front of them. That's the thing, is that I feel like we're successful much more if we can just get our foot in the door and sit down and see how we can help. And that's one of my tags is always like, I'm here to help. What can I do to help? And that's what they need. They need help because they don't know where to start. They don't know where to finish. I mean, you can't finish till you start. But going back to like when you first start this, yeah, you need some investors. You need some vendors. You need to get your ducks in a row before you start this, because you don't want to get in front of someone and go, well, I have an offer for you tomorrow, and then never call them back because there's someone coming right behind you with an offer. Or they may have already got an offer that they didn't like. But I just feel like it's sitting down with them and talking to them and saying, how can I help? That's 80% of the battle. Not to go too much on the local, but it's just the fact that they're, especially if it's a distressed seller, that's when they don't know what to do. When, just distressed properties, I feel like are easier than distressed sellers sometimes. So the sellers are the ones that are like panicking and they don't know who to call. And I feel like we need to be the source of the source and help them. And maybe it works out. And like Ryan says, maybe you get a listing 6 months from now, maybe you get 6 referrals, maybe you see them at the grocery store and they tell everyone about you, then you've done your job.
That's great. Now, I know in listening to a lot of these, one of the key objections that the agent gets on that first call, and even if they don't know it's an agent, this is, I just want to know what your cash offer is. Like, just tell me what you're going to pay for my house. Steve, you're nodding the most to that. Have you heard that objection? And when somebody says that, how do you help them?
Well, my response is always, I don't know. I haven't seen the house yet. When's a good time for me to come over and see the property? Because I really need to get eyes on it to make an offer. And the range is wide. So let's get that range dialed in based on me seeing the property.
The other thing I was gonna add, Jeremiah, I think speaking always in terms of the client, to Steve's point, in order to be good to you and to give you the best information, Mr. or Mrs. Home Seller, I really do need to physically see the property in order to do that. Does that kind of make sense? Kind of speaking in terms of them, then it's not so much I'm just trying to get in front of them, but genuinely to provide a good service, you need to see it.
That's no different than your typical traditional seller. I mean, when you call a seller that wants to list, what's it worth? Well, I have to come take a look at it and make sure that we're on the same page and we're getting the full potential out of it. So it's not a whole lot different than those types of leads.
Yeah.
The other thing I like to add in there is I do want to bring some value to that appointment as well. So we're offering now what we'd call a home improvement assessment. So, if that's warranted in that conversation, we will use that. Like while I'm there, I'll do a complimentary home improvement assessment, see if there's some things that we can do to really maximize value early in this process for you to net you more money. Works more on a listing appointment, but in these types of calls, if it's warranted, we'll use that too.
How do you all think about like what the right path for these folks is? Because I think all 3 of you are in markets that have Homeward, Open Door, OfferPad, numerous other programs, and then you have a network of investors. How do you all process that? Do you go and get them an offer from all of these different things and show them a bunch of options, or how do you guide them through that?
We do a two-step. So like the first time is a discovery kind of meeting where we're going to find out, what's their motivation? What are they, is time the issue? Is money the issue? What's the issue? And then we're going to broad stroke some options and then come back. And if a cash offer is warranted, then we'll come back with a number in mind. If it's something that, we can acquire and they want us to acquire it, fast, then we'll try to err on that. We'll take that project down. We'll acquire that property. But if they're looking for more money's an option, then we'll fish it out to our other investors and get more numbers on the property. And then we also have a online hook to a website that if they're not really ready to have the conversation, we have through Zoodealio, we have guaranteedbestoffer.com. And so they can use that. And that kind of does some of the heavy lifting up front for us, and then we can drill it down once they're more serious.
Maybe for some of you, any of you that have been kind of longtime agents, I can think of some agents on our team who are it's sometimes the moral dilemma that they say, look, Ryan, it is genuinely in the best interest of the consumer to MLS list the property, to let all of our friends at all the brokers see it, and to get that highest dollar amount. And I think part of it is in those conversations I've had with team members is that, remembering that we are kind of the beacon of information to them to help them understand how they want to take that information and process it and make the decision isn't my decision, isn't our agent's decision. And so I think just realizing that, again, kind of coming back to it, that this principle in general is just getting people to raise their hand that have some remote interest in something related to selling their property. And so I think just as agents, what we found, being open to it and being open to those conversations is really helpful because it allows you, again, more opportunities to meet people in person and genuinely help people.
Yeah, spot on. All right, there's a couple good questions in here. One is like, how do you guys handle the details about with a cash offer when you meet with them? When you go in, you don't always have everything in front of you. And then there's another question that's, once we connect with them, what do we do there? What I will tell you is, like, Mark will find these and he'll send me a note about the house, and I'll tell him basically sight unseen, if it's in good condition, I'll pay this. If it's in bad condition, I'll pay that. And Mark, I know you go into the appointment with kind of an idea. Do you or anyone else want to talk about, like, how do you handle that conversation without knowing the exacts going into the meeting?
It is sometimes tough because the stuff you see on the internet or the research that you do, you go to the house and it's been totally redone, or it was totally redone and now it's a total disaster. So like Steve said, there's a range there, but a lot of times you have to kind of, take a leap of faith and figure out, okay, like you said, Jeremiah, it's worth this much in good shape or this much in bad shape. And then you kind of meet in the middle once you get there and figure it out. But I think if you do enough of them, you start to realize once you get there, you're like, okay, well, the floor is not as nice as I thought it was. It needs new countertops. That's $1,200, $15, $2,000, whatever that number is. So I think you kind of have to, based on experience, you're gonna be able to give them an offer, as you sit across from the table, and then do your due diligence and all that stuff. But I think you do enough of them, you're going to realize that I'm going to have to go in there with at least some kind of number in my head to figure out what the real number is. Because
it seems like more often than not, the consumer has a number in their head.
Sure.
And a lot of this is about how well do these expectations match.
Yeah.
And if you're even close, because a lot of times you're not, because you're like, okay, I'm at 280 and he's at 460. And you're like, there's such a gap there that you can't fix that gap unless you put it on the market or fix it up and put it on the market, things like that. So sometimes it's really about the consumer's expectations.
Yeah. All right. So I want to answer two questions, and then I want to ask you all specifically, like, how do you make the transition from, you asked for a cash offer, but really the right thing to do is to put it on the market, and here's why. So I want to answer that in a second. But the questions are like, can I assign these contracts and get them, like, wholesale the property? How does OJO get paid? All those things. At the end of the day, I have no idea what state you're in and how legal or illegal that is. You need to check with your broker and your attorneys and figure out the deal on assignments. How OJO gets paid is if you get paid, we get paid. And that means whether you buy the house or you take a referral fee or an assignment fee or whatever. We are going to calculate what you pay OJO on the greater of, your success fee times 2.5% commission times the price, or what you actually made times the success fee. Pretty straightforward. If you have questions, you can always email support. But I want to take that back to the panel here. There's a really good question, which is most cash offers are really low. And so how do you realign expectations and pivot from this, you asked for a cash offer, you want this, the cash offer is that's why you should list with me to get this.
One thing we always like to ask the seller, again, is kind of coming back and saying, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what, after seeing this information, talking about the home sale process, what is most important to you? And then listening and seeing what they say and they come back with. And if they come back with price, often, which is the case, then it's having that discussion and saying, well, again, we went through, the cash offers from these investors here. Let's also explore, here is another option of a traditional type of listing, going through the benefits of that, how that works, buyer demand, market, who sees it, and just, again, presenting those options. So it's more like leading them down the path, Jeremiah, instead of telling them. It's more of a conversation with them to say, hey, if that is what's most important to you, what you just said, let's talk through this. And that's the way, I guess, we just try to kind of walk them through it side by side instead of telling them, if you will.
I was just going to say real quick. I add to it, when I walk through the door, I let people know that I'm there, even though I'm not their agent yet. I'm still acting as if I'm their agent. So anything they tell me is confidential. I want to get to trust really, really fast and let them know that I'm looking out for whatever the best scenario is for them. So I get really excited about the investment side because I love those opportunities. They're fun for us. But if the opportunity is there to net them more money with a traditional sale or we call it flip your own house. I've done this for a couple of clients where they said, well, I really want more money. And the house was distressed and I'm looking at a number. And then we talked about, well, an investor's going to buy it. They're going to fix up and make all this money. I said to a client one time and it just kind of stuck. I said, well, then flip your own darn house. And then so we helped him flip his own house. And it's now become kind of a third option for us is that how we present it. And so we're always looking to do what's best for them. And so if they're, that cash offer doesn't fit, to answer your original question, it's always what's in their best interest, what's going to net them the most money in the least amount of time with the least amount of hassle. But of those three things, what's most important, what's second, what's the third, what's the least, and then make those recommendations based on those three things.
And it looks like Tony Morrow in the chat had an example of what they lay out. Now pretend for a minute that you had to it was a house you didn't want to buy. It wasn't in one of the iBuyers buy box, and you had to go to your investor network to get them an offer. How quickly are you trying to turn that around? And generally, how quickly are your investors prepared to close?
I think getting a response back to the consumer within a day or two is totally doable. And again, wherever you're watching this, I know I've seen some from Hawaii and other spots. There are those gals and guys that are really active investors that are buying. And so it is just building those relationships with those people, making some calls to some of the top agents in your market who do a ton of business. They probably already know them. And they're out there. Those folks are out there. And so I think, again, within a couple days of initially Jeremiah, and then closing within a week to 10 days, working with a title company that's able to, how quickly can they get it done? Obviously that's fast, but it depends upon your title company too.
Anyone have a different answer?
Pretty much the same thing. I mean, I have investors on my text thread that I'll text them either when I'm in the driveway or before I leave the place, sending pictures. I can get an answer within hours. You got to get back to them. I would say within 24 hours, because if you don't, someone's coming behind you and doing something different, whether that's a listing or they're buying it themselves. But yeah, usually 24 hours, sometimes less than that, depending on the property, how good it is and what the value is. But yeah, they'll go elsewhere if you wait too long.
Yeah, and we've got a really robust investor network here in Denver. I recently had one that I was under contract on. We were going to flip, did the inspection, and it was just a little more than I wanted to deal with. I like I like to say I like putting makeup on houses, like and jewelry, fixtures and paint, and like easy flips for me. This one needed a lot. There was some foundational stuff and some black mold and stuff going on in the attic. So I flipped it to my investor network. I found somebody that right in their wheelhouse, and then I took a commission on it, sold it to them, and the seller was happy. They only took $5,000 less than they were going to sell it to me for. They were super happy because we closed in 2 weeks. So
That's great.
Creative, just creative.
Chris, you got something?
Yeah, I was just going to add, you guys have given some great examples of how this works. I think the critical thing for most of the people watching and listening is just that initial conversation. Because if you get by the initial conversation, then being able to come and present the 2 or 3 or 4 options that you're going to present them with is just sort of the next natural part of the process. What have you guys learned and seen from your agents, the do's and the don'ts on that initial conversation?
I would just to say, remember, it's not about us. They don't care if you're the top agent or top team in your market, or if you've sold 1 billion houses or whatever. Just remember, it's always about the consumer. It's about the seller. So I think it's natural. You want to try to prove yourself to get in front of them. But remember, that's one thing we found is that, just keeping it focused on them specifically.
Yeah. So I preach a lot. We have to care about what they care about. And it comes across on the phone if you don't care, right? So if you're just there and you start talking about how great you are, you're going to lose the call. Just like that example Jeremiah was saying earlier. Our goal is to really just come at it with great value, give them things that they haven't maybe thought about before, so that opens the door for us to get an appointment, to get our foot in the door. And to Mark's point, that's when we're face to face. That's where the magic happens. That's where, we build trust and credibility, and we're able to offer solutions, and then we win that business, whatever's best for them.
Love it. How much do you all find that the people looking for cash offers are going to multiple sites and submitting, to get multiple bids from multiple places?
Quite a bit.
Quite often.
Yeah, they've already got their open door bid half the time already in hand.
The Open Door and others have pretty narrow buy boxes, meaning they're looking for homes built prior or after X date, under Y price, in X square footage. And a lot of these people, the reason they're playing cash offer ping pong is because they can't get the offer they want from the first place they went. Mm-hmm. And so when somebody does have multiple investors and they're waiting to hear back, how do you all help them understand that it's a good idea to work with you versus go do this on their own?
I think resource, Jeremiah, again, if you have options for people, you have multiple investors, maybe your team, your brokerage partners with a variety of the services that have been described that gets these cash offers out quickly to people. I think just letting people know you have the resource for them, so they don't have to go to 15 different people to get the same information, essentially.
And it's a level of trust and making sure, their comfort level. A lot of these people are in distressed situations where they're not sure who to trust and not sure, who to listen to. And I think if you build that rapport with them, I'm sure it's just like a regular listing. Sometimes they'll choose you over a different listing agent, even though you may have the same background or whatever the case may be, stats and all that. But it's really a level of trust and making sure that they're going to get what they need.
Yep.
Yeah, we have a number of creative selling solutions, and a lot of the people that we talk to, they want the price, they want that big net number, and the cash offer isn't going to give it to them. So if they're willing to be a little patient in the process and take on a little bit of the stress or some investment, or at least allow us to come in and bring our people in, and we have a design coordinator on our team, and all these additional value things that we bring to the process, we can get them more money. So if I'm competing against a lot of multiple situations like that, I'm going to talk net and really kind of, if we could get you an extra $10,000-$15,000 and it only took an extra 30 days, would that be of value to you? And let's talk about it, versus just here's my cash offer and let me know how it goes.
One last thing, real quick, Jeremiah. I was just going to say that in these conversations as well, a good value add you can offer to that seller if you're not coming to that number, like Jeremiah said, they had a number in mind, is offer to show them 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 other active homes that are on the market. Again, taking a little extra time with them, no strings attached, just to show them some of the additional properties, see where they're priced, see the market time. That can also help you get closer to that number that you're telling them.
There's a good question in the Q&A, and I think we're going to see more of this. So there's a seller, they're 3 months behind on their mortgage. The cash offer or even listing the home on the market isn't going to get them enough to pay off the mortgage. They bought at they were the highest sale in the neighborhood last year. What do you do?
We're advising people in those situations to, if they have to move and leave the area or they're in a financial situation, what can we rent it for? Let's put a tenant in there for a year or two and let the market catch up to what you paid for. We just had a group coaching this morning. We were talking about that same thing. We have a lot of those frenzied buyers that paid, $10,000 to $50,000, $100,000 over list price, and it's not a good situation if they have to sell right now with the correction going on.
So back in the, for those of us that have been selling for a while, the short sale market, I mean, I can remember in the Twin Cities, all we had are short sales, and it took 6, 8 months, 9 months to close a deal. So there's going to be those situations, and just, again, understanding that process, partnering with a good local law firm who can help you negotiate that short sale is really important. It's just another tool. It's just being a resource, helping that seller, helping them through it.
For those of you that don't know what a short sale is because you are less than 10 real estate years old, it means that you are going to negotiate or an attorney is going to negotiate or the seller is going to negotiate with the seller's lender to accept less than the amount owed in exchange for selling the property today. That from like 2008 to 2011, I don't think we did much else. So one of my favorite quotes.
And from 1990 to 97, did hundreds of them.
Right? Like one of the best quotes is, there are no good and bad markets. There are simply the right and wrong tactics for the current market. And
right.
Knowing the right tactics for the market you're in is key. So we're at 2 minutes. I would love for each one of you to give us like a parting thought. What's the next action step that an agent should take if they're listening to this today?
I would say get your ducks in a row. Make sure you have your vendors and your investors and you have a plan in place. So when you do get in front of these cash buyers and they actually want to accept your offer, then you have the resources to be able to do that. That, and I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but a lot of these people you have to follow up with and follow up with and follow up with and follow up with and then follow up with them 2 more times, because sometimes no action is their action because they don't know what to do, so they do nothing. So I would say make sure that you're staying in front of them, no matter how hard that is sometimes, because sometimes you have to contact them 15 times to be able to get a hold of them, but then that 16th time they want you to come over. So keep that in mind as well.
I think just, again, build your network, local investors, your vendors list, your trusted professional in every aspect of a house. Have that easily accessible for people. It's very important to provide value in that way. And I think then just as agents, brokers, be positive and happy about the opportunity. Remember, in my opinion, each one of these leads presents a wonderful opportunity for a discussion for something. And so I think, again, I know a lot of agents around the country that convert a ton of these into deals, into transactions, into commissions. And so I think it's a great opportunity, and I'm excited OJO's doing it.
For me, I think you need to approach it as strategist first, activist second, meaning that you have to come in and really know the options really, really well so that you can present them in a way that's going to bring value to that person and give them, most importantly, a solution that works for them. And then secondly, you're an activist, and then you have to go make it happen. So whether that's, having your investor network lined up or a giant line of credit that you can take advantage of these opportunities if somebody's in a cash situation, or have your vendors lined up. Are they willing to get paid at closing? Some of these things to kind of think about. I don't go with the third-party models. I have my own vendors because I think they charge too much and the work is not always the best. So we have a philosophy a little above middle when we're fixing up a house. And so I want to make sure we get our right vendors in there. So then we put it on the market, we really get max dollar if that's the direction they're going. And maybe they're tight on cash. So I have funded clients before to get them through to closing. I have them tap HELOCs, whatever it takes. So just know all those things, all those options before you can really do it. And I'm happy to talk more about it if anybody wants to reach out.
Cool. Hey, for those of you that are on the panel, drop like your Instagram or your email or however you would want somebody to get a hold of you. Drop it in the chat. I have one thing I'm going to share that the team's going to kill me for sharing, and I get excited to do that. And then Heller's going to close this out. But like in the spirit of contribution, we know that this is hard to be able to explain. Our team is hard at work on putting together some pages for you to use in your listing presentations that you can explain to a seller. What are these different options? How are you trading price against time? And give you some basic pros and cons of these different strategies. So read your email from us because we're going to be sending that out to you. We are looking to help you use the strategy that is going to cause you to be the most effective, not just in the market that we're in, but in the market we're coming into. Yeah, we're going to send the slides out. Yes, we're going to send the recording out. Chris, bring us home.
Hey, first of all, Brian, Steve, Mark, and Jeremiah, thank you all. Thanks everyone for spending the time with us. We're going to continue to do things to help you build your business, help you thrive, and help generate more introductions from OJO to you all. So thanks for being part of what we do. We appreciate you all.